Trojan fans, welcome to a very special edition of the Peristyle Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Abraham, publisher of USCFootball.com, joined in studio by Mr. Triple Double himself, Connor Morrissette, and we have a special guest. Thanks again to House of Victory for setting this one up. It's going to be a very popular one, I think. Nate Clifton, the senior defensive lineman, 5 years at Vanderbilt. So obviously got a little brains upstairs. Smart guy. He's coming on the show. Going to spend his last collegiate season at USC, Nashville to Los Angeles. Follow him on Twitter at Nate_Cliff_. Nate, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on.
Good to see you. This was looking for this. The defensive line is a popular position. Everyone wants to know what's going on. There's already people asking, "Hey, can you play defensive tackle?" So that's that's what the common thing is. But it's going to be great to hear from you, kind of your journey. Some of the players we've talked to went from like small town Mississippi, like DeCarlos Nicholson, to Los Angeles. You went from big city to big city, so a little bit different. So we'll talk about all that. But before we get into it, I just wanted to give you a chance to talk about your involvement since you've been here with House of Victory. I know there's been charitable work and things like that, and what you've been doing with House of Victory.
Right. So I've been blessed to connect with them. A lot of my charitable events has really been with the Boys and Girls Club, and that's something really personal to me because I grew up my entire life with them since, I believe, third grade back in Nashville, all the way up to high school. I was there every afternoon and met some of my best friends for life there. So be able to do that and get back to community here with those kids, it's a blessing, said it least.
That's awesome, Nate. I know those kids really appreciate that. I've had a chance to go down and watch some of the USC players interact with those kids. It's always really fun. I remember watching Caleb Williams throw some passes to some kids last year. That was really cool to see. The kids were over the moon, so keep up the great work with that. Transitioning to football now, what's the offseason been like for you? Take us through a day in the life of Nate Clifton right now, maybe this week. When are you working out? What are those like? What are you doing? What's the offseason been like for you?
So there's been a difference between the winter and the summer. Winter was pretty nice, if I'm being honest. My workout time was at 2, and I'm with the older guys. I'm old head. They call me one of the unks on the team. So with the older guys who knew what the course of action was, what the standard was, so we're just going in, getting the work in. And I think I got a lot better. I was required to gain a lot of weight here. This is the heaviest I've ever been in my life, but I was still able to maintain my strength, speed, and other traits of athleticism. And now I'm at 8 a.m., so transition from afternoon back to morning with a couple of the freshmen and newer guys, other transfers that came in as well. But still tacking it together. We know what the plan of action is and the mission is for this upcoming season. So just doing the best we can to stay together and be the best team possible.
If you don't mind, what have you got up to weight wise, and is that sort of like your goal, or you want to actually put on a little more? What's your kind of goal there?
So when I came here, I was 280. Now, This morning I was 295, and this is kind of the area I want to stay at. Because you mentioned something about, and I'm not sure if you were. I'm a D tackle now, like.
For sure. You are? Okay. All right.
Yes. So you said that. I don't know if you was joking or not, but I'm for sure now. I'm a 3 tech, so the weight got to go up. Yes, sir.
Interesting, Connor. I don't know. I think we still had him as a defensive end, right? I think on the.
Well, I know that when you committed Nate, or I guess signed, I should say, it all happened so fast. You talked to Chris, our coworker, about your versatility, how you've played on the edge in the past and also in the middle. When you were being recruited, was this always the plan for you, or has it sort of changed a little bit? Maybe USC was a little bit light in the middle, and now they thought, hey, we could move Nate over there. What was the plan for you, and how is that being followed through right now?
Right. So I was talking, a big portion of my commitment was talking to Coach Lynn, and he told me that I'd probably play from anywhere between 4 to 3 tech. So anywhere between the tackle and guard. And that's something I was already familiar with, so that really wasn't a problem with me. Like you said, at Vanderbilt, I played a variety of different positions. I played my first year ever actually getting PT, my sophomore year, was at 4-eye, like head up with the tackle. Then 2 years after that, I was primarily 5 tech, defensive end. And then last year, I did a bit of both. I was a defensive tackle as well as an end. So I've been everywhere. So I wasn't scared or afraid of the opportunity presented to me by Coach Lynn, and it was something that I knew coming into this, and I accepted it.
Well, the Peristyle is going to be very happy to hear there's another big body in the middle there. So you feel comfortable 295 movement-wise? Like, do you feel like it's been okay to have the weight, put the weight on and still be able to move like you could before?
Yes, sir. I honestly don't feel that much of a change. I think with the Coach Riley's strength staff, we've done an excellent job in the weight room. I think I've put on weight, but kept that, like I said, kept the athleticism. I don't really see that much of a difference, if I'm being totally honest.
So, Nate, hearing you talk about playing in the middle, I know you haven't had a ton of opportunity to get on the field, spring practice, of course, but since then, not as much. What's your relationship like with Bear Alexander? Have you had a chance to play next to him much in the spring? Just take me through how you work with him and if you've had a lot of time to get to know him so far.
But yeah, Bear's locker is right across from me. So I've had many conversations with him. I have not been fortunate enough to actually play with him in spring ball, considering he's going through an injury. But literally, it's kind of funny you asked. Just yesterday, it was me and him doing some position work, getting our grind on. So, yeah, that's obviously going to be an essential part to our defense, especially this defensive line coming up this season, and all the hopes in the world for them.
On paper, it looks like the defensive line isn't, maybe as deep as like the secondary seems pretty deep. There's a bunch of guys, at linebacker spot. What were your first impressions of coming into that room with Eric Henderson and the guys in there? What were your first impressions coming from the SEC to what, USC's defensive line was kind of looking like?
Right. So that honestly wasn't really a point of contention. I really didn't know who I was stepping into the room with. I knew whoever we had, we were going to make it work, but I've obviously been blessed with the teammates that I've been able to see and get close to during my time here. Like, the one person I was familiar with was Jamil. He, as you probably already know, he went to Vanderbilt for literally one semester. I wasn't there, but we were in the same class, so I was aware of his name, and he was one of the guys I talked to on my visit. And then fortunate enough to play with these other guys along with Ann, Shelby, Elijah Hughes, Kobe Pepe. So we're going to be just fine this upcoming season. I have all the faith in the world with us.
You're being coached by Eric Henderson, of course, who was hired after you signed to play at USC. What was your reaction when Lincoln Riley was able to bring in an NFL coach who worked with Aaron Donald to coach your position, and what's it been like to be coached by Eric Henderson?
Right. So as you said, I wasn't aware of his signing before he came on, but obviously when I'm told that, the guy who coached AD is coming up here, obviously that's an ecstatic feeling. Who knows what he's able to teach me. And I think, honestly, I've developed a lot already in this short amount of time here. I think I've already become a way better player, and I'm excited to show my talents this fall. He's a straight-up guy. Like, he's taking that NFL attitude and mindset to college, and that's something that I believe our room needs. And then, obviously, a perk is seeing Aaron Donald at practice, one of arguably the best defensive player of all time. That's obviously a plus that I'll accept as well.
The spending 5 years, like we mentioned earlier, Nashville, Vanderbilt, decide to transfer for your senior year. What sort of went into the decision to leave for your final season, final year of eligibility, and then come play for Lincoln Riley and USC in Los Angeles?
So my ultimate goal, my ultimate dream is to make it to the NFL. And I had 1 year eligibility, and I wanted to maximize the opportunity. I could have won it last year, and who knows what would have happened for me, but I believe it was in my best interest to seek a program out to maximize this opportunity that I have in front of me. And USC is one of the first to reach out. And obviously, it's not really a secret, the things that have been said about the lack of defense that occurred last year. And they made it obviously a focal point for this next upcoming season with all the hires and all the transfers they brought in. And I thought I could fit right into it, and we could do something amazing with the staff and players that have come on to this team and program.
Nate, obviously you weren't here last season, but bringing up the defense last year, I know Eric Gentry, the linebacker, he's a guy who took last year personally, and he's talked to us about that, how he thinks about last season every day. As a team, as a defense, do the guys who are coming back from last season, is that something that they talk about day to day, or is that more if you were there last year, you might be motivated inside, but maybe not everyone's discussing it? Are the coaches talking about it at all? Are you using last year as a motivation even though you weren't on the team?
So they definitely do. One of the first things they said was this thing about 118. Defense, you got 118. And I'm over here like, what is that? And they informed me that it was the ranking of the defense last year. And they made us do 118 of whatever it's push-ups, whatever it's bicep curls, jump ropes, something to that regard. I'm like, I wasn't part of the defense. Why am I doing this? But it's a part of being committed to the task of being better than that said number. And if you get it down half or whatever it is, the team as a whole will be way better than what it was. And so they definitely do remind, not as much as staff, more as a player commitment, the players from last year to, expanding upon the game and the leadership that was here before.
Transferring in, sometimes you have to learn a whole new system, or most of the time you're going to do that. But with a new defensive staff coming in, it seems like everybody on the roster is kind of learning something new. How's that process been, and how different is the defensive front and the schemes, what you have to do technique-wise from what you were doing at Vanderbilt?
So that's something I'm real familiar with, because I've had, if you don't mind me taking a second, I've had about 4 in my time in college. At Vanderbilt, we didn't have as much success as we were planning to. So I've had a new D-line coach almost every single year. The only time I didn't was my last 2 years at Vanderbilt. I had the same one, and that was the first time. So I've learned many different verbiage, many different languages used for the D-line and defensive staff. I had, obviously, this will be my 3rd head coach now in Lincoln Riley. So it was just another transition period, learning new play calls, new assignments, techniques. It's something I'm very aware of already, so I wouldn't say the transition was too hard for me personally.
Nate, I'm curious, you were a captain at Vanderbilt. Who are some of the leaders on USC, and what makes an effective leader in your eyes?
So the 2 that come to mind immediately, especially in my room, is probably Jamil. He's the one that's the spokesperson for our rooms, tell us where to be, gets us together for film and whatnot, extra workouts or D-line work. And one that necessarily doesn't talk a lot, but everyone on the team is aware of, is obviously Jonah. That's my rack partner. He's a guy of little words, but all action. He's going to get his work done. It's kind of like an NFL prototype, where he's here to work, encourage his teammates, but he's not necessarily a hoorah guy. Someone's going to come in and try to give a big speech. And I honestly appreciate that. And that's kind of the play style and the leadership that I prefer. And those aren't the only 2, but those are the ones that I have realized or seen a lot this offseason that comes to mind.
Did you know Barton Simmons at all when you were at Vanderbilt? Like, he's a former colleague of ours at 24/7. It was funny. Like,
Yes, sir.
How is he doing there? Is he doing all right?
I believe so. I've not talked to him since we left the point.
Oh, no worries.
I got my little dog that's sitting. I need him to sit. I try to give him a bone. So that's one of my first purchases I got here. I want you to sit. Little dude.
You can put him on camera if you want. If that's...
Let's see. Let me grab him.
If you want.
He's not really a puppy anymore. He's kind of a big boy.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Okay, he's going to steal the show.
His name is Abel. My favorite artist is The Weeknd. And so I named him after that. I don't remember the question anymore. He's over here disrupting me.
No, that's great. That's he's going to, everyone wants to see him more than us, I think. That's cool. That's very cute. That's awesome. Any sort of, you came from a big city, coming to another big city, anything kind of surprise you about Los Angeles so far, or anything that, maybe pleasantly surprised, or kind of like, oh, I didn't expect that?
You say big city to big city, but Los Angeles is way larger than Nashville was.
Sure.
But it's just a way different culturally. And I'm accepting open arms. I've said, you want to get down? I've said it to a lot of people here that I can seriously see California probably being a home for me in the future. I've loved it so far in my time here. And obviously I haven't been able to explore everything as I've liked. I don't really have a car. My transportation is a scooter. I don't know if you can see behind me, but that's how I get to and from places, unless it's a longer car rides. That's when I call it Uber. But I can see this being a home for me in the distant future.
That's what happened with Ryan here. So Nate, I know that you have your new dog. Which players on the team, your dog has obviously helped you adjust to life in LA, but who's taken you under their wing and helped you adjust to life in Los Angeles on the team? I know your experience, and you probably could have figured it out on your own being an older guy. Who's helped you with the transition, though?
So I wouldn't say like transition to the area, but to the team, it's probably the same guys I've already mentioned, like Jonah, Jamil. Miller's been a person who talks to the whole team and just listening to his leadership. Trying to think, I've really gotten closer to Solo, to Elijah Hughes, and other guys in the D-line room, and Braylon Shelby. Those type of guys are just Sam, just getting under their wing and learning what the to and from of this team is. It's been something I've been really trying to accept the open arms.
We have, I don't know, Connor, if you want to do we can do some Peristyle questions if you want to do something else. So we, on the message board, and if you're watching us live on YouTube, first of all, thank you very much for doing that. I hope you're enjoying the conversation as much as we are with Nate Clifton here, the Vanderbilt transfer, playing defensive tackle now, so it's cool. But if you have a question in the chat and you want to put it up there, but we do have some that people posted on the Peristyle as he puts his dog down. Bye, Abel. Thanks for coming on the show. That's great. Do you want to go through some of those, Connor?
Sure. I have a few more I can wrap up at the end.
Oh, sure.
Let's get into some Peristyle ones. So Ty0214 wants to know, have you played the new NCAA college football video game? And then I have some follow-ups. If you have, who have you been playing with on the team? Who are the best players on the team? Who's the most upset about their ranking? Any insight you can give about this new game? It seems to be all the rage right now.
I knew this question was coming. That was like the one else in front of my mind. I bought it before. Obviously, they gave it free to players, but I was not waiting. Like, I bought it on my own beforehand because I was so excited to play it. That's all I've been doing these last 3 or 4 days. I obviously off rip. I used us. I used the USC. It's obviously a blessing to be able to play with us. The best on our team specifically is most definitely Zach. He's the highest overall. He's one of the fastest in the game. So just deep balls, just throwing them over and over and over again to him has been working. Now, I don't know if he actually asked about my overall, like how I feel about it, but like when I saw mine's an 81, which is higher than most, I will say.
That's pretty good, yeah.
I thought it could have been a little better, but I'll take being in the game and just motivation to, be better throughout the season and hopefully get that number to go up even more. We'll see though. Is
there someone on the team that's really upset about their ranking, or is there someone like that you felt that's like the most off on the team?
Well, to be honest, like all of us are off. Like,
okay.
I don't really know what they use as a metric to rate the players. Like, I'm really curious to hear the insides and outside how they did that, because I understand their point of view though. It's very hard to for all the nuances of trying to put someone's overall and ranking. They had like the top guys, and then everyone else just kind of followed in line. But I can't really recall anyone being truthfully just upset. I think everyone, like I said, is really just thankful for the game to be out in the first place and just be even in it in the first place.
It's historic, and I think they can update. There's a lot of guys that have transferred, like the way all these rosters are constructed. It's hard to tell, but I think they can update it. Like, so if you got like 10 sacks for the first 6 games or something, they could. Yeah. I think they could bump you up. Like, okay, we need to. Or if like Miller goes bananas, he's not going to be an 84 or whatever he is now. I think they can make adjustments once they kind of figure stuff out. So, but I don't know.
Nate, in terms of, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was about to say, I think that's what we're going to do. And again, that's going to be one of my motivation pieces. I know it's some trivial, but like I want that overall up to use myself some more.
So Zach is the best in the game ranking wise, but what about actually using the controller and playing the game? It sounds like you play a lot. Who else on the team is playing a ton? Have you done any head-to-head matchups? Who's the best video game player with this game on the team?
So I'm not there yet. I challenged Sam. I challenged Jamil. I literally challenged them today and yesterday. So we're going to get those games going quickly and real soon, and I'll let you know after that.
Okay.
Do you like doing the recruiting stuff and everything, like Dynasty mode? And
so I'm kind of a weirdo. I got in. I went straight to Ultimate Team, trying to build like my best roster. Okay. I've started Dynasty with some friends, so I'm about to get into that real soon. But I can't really give an update as of yet. I haven't really dived into it. I want to.
Our next question comes from Tommy Trojan's husband, who wants to know, who are some of the hardest hitting offensive linemen you've come up against in your time at USC?
When everyone asks me this question, it's always 2 people that come to mind, and they were top 10 talents in the NFL. One was from Tennessee, Darnell Wright, who's on the Bears, and the other one was just number 5th pick overall to the Titans, J.C. Latham from Alabama. Definitely gave me a hard time. Obviously, it's going to make me better, though, and I want to be in the shoes that they are now. So using the experience I got going up against them is going to motivate me to being a better player this coming season.
On USC, is anyone hitting harder than Jonah?
Jonas was definitely him. I always try to go against him and Emmanuel. Like, I try to get those 2 every one-on-one period just to make me better. It just helping us get to a better team in the fall. Definitely those 2, I believe, are probably the best in our line.
Certainly, I think they were 2 of the best guys last year for sure. Juju on the beat wants to know, who's the strongest guy in the defensive line room?
Ooh, if I can be, just honest, I think I'm up there. I'll put myself up there. But Jamil's definitely up there. Braylon Shelby's definitely up there. It depends on what exercise, because some people are better at areas than others. Like, if we're going squat, I'm taking Shelby and Elijah and Jamil. If we're going bench, I'm probably putting me But there's no one slacking in that room. We're all pretty strong.
And then how about just in general? You had spring practice, now doing a lot of weights, some off-season stuff. Which players, either in your room, on the defense, on the offense, who's impressed you from a talent perspective or just from a work ethic perspective? Who's someone you've sort of noticed in your time at USC and thought, okay, this guy, he's going to have an impact for us?
I keep saying his name, but I'm going to go. Probably my number one right now is Braylon Shelby. I know he didn't get as much playing time last year, and he's relatively young, but the amount of weight he's put on, he's very, very blessed athletically. He's tall, long limbs. Like the world is his oyster right now, and he keeps developing. Everybody's gonna be shocked when they see what he can do.
What was your experience like putting on the 15 pounds? We heard so much about how Benny Wiley really wanted the whole team to beef up. You've been a big part of that. Was this strength and conditioning program the last couple of months, was that different than what you did at Vanderbilt? Was it similar, just maybe going into overdrive a little bit? Describe the strength and conditioning program and your thoughts on it.
I tell Coach Wiley this. It was definitely different. I'm not going to try to comment too much on Vanderbilt, but if I'm keeping this like short and sweet, we kept the strength and conditioning program here at USC just football. Everything transitioned directly to football. And again, like I think that's why I was able to put on the weights and not necessarily feel a difference. I still feel as athletic as I was, but just stronger and faster. I think my numbers have spoken for themselves whenever we wear those GPS things or whatnot. But I really liked the program that I've entered into. Yes, sir.
I know when you were being recruited to USC, Lincoln Riley visited you in person, and that really meant a lot to you. Now that you're on campus and involved in the football program, obviously, what have been your impressions of Lincoln Riley as a head coach? What have you learned from him? What's your relationship like with him?
First word that comes to mind is definitely a motivator. He's always reminds us of the task at hand and how upcoming the season, there's going to be a big circle every single time that we play an opponent. And we have to come up to the task and show, we're not just any regular opponent. We're not the last year's team. We're really coming here to go for it all, to win every single game. That's the expectation and nothing less. And Coach Riley just reminds us that every single day, that's the task at hand. That's the standard for this season, and the world is ours.
We're getting really close to the season. I'm sure you can feel it. Fall camp, starting up in a couple of weeks. They haven't announced the official start date and all that kind of stuff yet, but it'll be starting up soon. It's feeling real for me. Like I've been used to do a lot of like Pac-12 radio before you got here when it was part of the Pac-12. Did my first Big Ten Sirius XM radio hit the other day, and I was like, wow, I'm talking Big Ten football now. What are your thoughts and like the team thoughts going in? I know you come from the SEC, but just having this Big Ten schedule coming up, LSU in the opener, Notre Dame down the road, like what's the kind of anticipation from everyone in the locker room there?
It's surreal for me personally, and these are opponents that I've never faced. Obviously, come from the SEC. The only one I've actually went against is LSU, but anyone else I have not. And these are probably the other biggest programs in the country that I've not been against. I've played Alabama, I've played Georgia, but now it's time to play Michigan or Washington or Penn State. Like it's obviously a blessing to be able to play all the talent or top tier talent in the entire country, other than the ACC and other conferences. I can't speak for every single team, but I'm taking it all in. I'm thankful for this opportunity to have in front of me, and I'm going to maximize it as much as I can. Only thing I'm not looking forward to is a longer travel time going across the country to the east, but still, nonetheless, it's only for this season. Well, not really, because if NFL be like that as well, but just going to try to be the best player I can every single Saturday this cup season.
Nate, switching gears here for a second. Have you had much time around Gavin Meyer, the Wyoming transfer on the defensive line? I don't even know if he's on campus yet, but have you spent much time with him?
Oh, yes, sir. He's here, and yes, I have.
What's he like? Fill in USC fans on what they're getting in Gavin Meyer, if you could.
This won't say much, but I believe he's similar to me. Like he's an older guy in the room, so he knows how to operate every given day. He doesn't need to be told to do something. He's kind of what he's going through, what I had to go through, learning the different personnel, different verbiage and saying in the room, and he'll be just fine. His name speaks for himself. He knows what he's doing. He's going to be a crucial part to our defense and our defensive line's upcoming season.
And then the last thing for me right now, unless you have something else after, Ryan, what does a successful season for USC look like? What are your guys' goals this year?
To win every game on the schedule. That's about plain as simple as I can make it. I don't see a game where, losing is optional or acceptable. Though I didn't really come from a culture like that, I see this room and what the history of the school means to the players, coaches, and alumni, and it's all about doing the same thing, giving back.
Food in LA. We always get questions. I know someone at the Peristyle asked kind of about that. Do you have any favorite spots? Do you love the Mexican food or the sushi? I mean, it's going to be a little different than what you can get in Nashville, but what's your I don't know if you're a foodie or not, what your food takes?
I'm the worst guy for this question because my food palate is so plain. Like, I'm fine eating the same 3 things every single day. And again, I don't have a car, so I can't really take myself to a place I want to go. So it's all DoorDash for me every weekend, and I'm trying to do something. The best food I've had probably so far is, what is it called? It's burrito, breakfast burrito factory somewhere. I think it's a Koreatown. I get that every Sunday. That's my tradition so far. And I still have to experiment some more, and I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, there's obviously some good spots. If you like breakfast, Jackson Joe is down the street from USC. That's good. French dip sandwiches, go to Philippe's. They're the inventor of the French dip, just downtown. It's not too far from you. And there's a Michelin-rated taco stand, whole box, that's just near the DMV, right around the corner from USC. You can walk over there. I went there once, and that was a really good one. Actually, I went to a LAFC game, and we walked over there, and that was pretty spectacular. Big line and stuff. But there's a lot of great places around, so you can do a little experimenting.
Yes, sir.
Nice. All right. Anything else, Connor?
No, this interview got me really excited for the season, Nate, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, we had a comment in the chat. I'll put it up again from Mark. Mark's always great, and he's come in there and says hi, and he's like, listening to him gives me hope for the defense this year. So
I saw that one.
You're good. First of all, hey, I'm playing defensive tackle, because someone made a joke in the Peristyle, can he play defensive tackle? He's going to play defensive tackle. So yes, he can. And this is weird. I've been covering USC a long time, and a lot of times the offseason would be a lot of buzz and hype and stuff. And this offseason seemed more about it's more the internal stuff, infrastructure, their new defense and stuff, and bringing in guys like yourself that maybe isn't the flashiest 5-star whatever high school player out there, but someone that's been around the block, has a lot of experiences, NFL aspirations, and has a good head on their shoulder, and you've definitely shown that. So I feel USC might not have the hype this offseason, but it seems like there's a lot of potential and upside for you guys going into the season that maybe some of the fans aren't seeing quite yet.
Yeah, I believe we're definitely flying under the radar, and that's perfectly fine for me. I'm excited and hyped to wake everybody up.
All right. We got to give you some applause because, again, killing it. So epic fail on our part. We should have had you on sooner. This was good, but thanks. I think there's Matt, we were given some ideas, and Matt came up. He's like, yeah, you want to do Nate? I'm like, yeah, that'd be awesome. We should definitely talk. And everyone's been great. Everyone we've had on, they've been amazing to talk to. So we really appreciate you. And you came up early. The shot looks great. Sounds good. It's awesome. So we appreciate you. It's not your first rodeo, man.
He wants to say.
Oh, yeah. Hey, buddy. Star of the show. That might be our screenshot right there, I think. Nate Clifton, everyone. Really can't appreciate, can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for coming on. Best of luck going forward. Everyone else, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this. All righty, we're back here on the Peristyle Podcast. Nate was great. Everyone's been awesome. They've just been so well spoken. Just makes me feel bad about myself. I was never that well put together when I was that age. So great, but he was awesome. And defensive tackle.
Don't feel bad about not being like Nate Clifton when you were younger, Ryan. That was awesome. That got me excited for the season. There's kind of been a lull these last few weeks. We're putting out our top 30 most important Trojans. Not really a lot is happening. We're kind of scraping the barrel for stories here, but I know a lot of good stuff is going to come from what we just heard Nate talk about, which was really cool. I'm excited to share stuff with the Peristyle and with the website. People who don't listen to the podcast and get on the website. the fact that he's gained 15 pounds and still feels like he can move the same way is significant. And the big question, Ryan, they struck out on a good amount of prospects in the transfer portal to come in and replace Isaiah Rakes. Looks like Nate Clifton, next man up. And now he'll be playing alongside Bear Alexander. I'm sure he's not a guaranteed starter right now. He'll still have to earn that in camp. That was for sure the most significant part of the interview, though. He's going to be playing alongside Bear Alexander this season at defensive tackle. I think that's huge.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, he mentioned by name Kobe Pepe,
Yeah.
who we expect, some big things out of Braylon Shelby.
Elijah Hughes.
Yeah, so I know there's a lot of doom and gloom out there. And there's some stuff that USC has not done very well on the recruiting front. And, did they get all the transfers they wanted? They missed out on guys, like 100%. Like that's been the case, right? But like I really do feel that USC fans are used to just huge buzz and then sort of disappointment to get your hopes up. And this seems like more of a season where it's like behind the scenes sort of build up. Like you're not expecting this defensive line to play better, but everyone you talk to in the program seems to think that they will. We'll see if they do or not, right? I mean, I thought they would be a lot better on defense last year, and they were pretty bad. But in this case, it's like everyone we've talked to, you're like, I think they're going to be pretty good. And the fact that he's 295 can still move, giving you maybe just some depth there and maybe some star power. Who knows? He has NFL aspirations. There's if you're the rose-colored glasses USC fans, I think there's reasons for them to be optimistic. I think the more pessimistic ones, they're gonna you have to prove it to them. But you feel pretty good about like sort of what they've been kind of putting together here, even though it's not maybe as flashy as some of the other years.
I still want to see what the defensive line looks like. I think I do still feel a little bit better about the other units. Secondary, in my opinion, is the strength of the team going into the year, just with all of that experience. And then I think the linebacking core has a lot of potential. I want to see what Clifton looks like playing alongside Bear Alexander. I want to see Braylon Shelby take that jump that Nate alluded to. He thinks he has a really good chance to take a big jump. I remember last season, Ryan, we talked all about Anthony Lucas, how he's going to have this big season, and then he ends the year with 10 tackles, which was 24th on the team, so not quite as good as people had hoped. I love the offseason hype, and hearing from Nate, hearing that new position, I am excited about it. Of course, though, you got to see it first, and so LSU, September 1st, can't come soon enough.
Yeah, there's a bunch of guys that have played LSU on this team, so that's good. With a bunch of transfers that come from SEC country, but just they've all been awesome to talk to. So really appreciate House of Victory setting all that stuff up. These have been a lot of fun for us. Hopefully, they're fun for all of you. Give you guys a little sort of preview, and especially the transfers, the new players where we don't get to talk to them that much. Maybe you just get 5 minutes after practice. The fact that we can get these, 30 minutes with these guys and really get a feel for how they've come along and why they picked USC and all that stuff is really been fun. So hopefully everyone enjoyed that. We're going to talk about the most important Trojans. We got our list that have been going up, the top 30. But we wouldn't get to do this at the top, but I just want to let everyone know you can email us, podcast@uscfootball.com if you have any questions. Fall camp's starting in a couple weeks. We're going to be, obviously the shows will be more regular. We'll be probably still doing some more interviews, but once camp starts, we'll be getting interviews after practice and things like that. You can also call or text us, leave us a voicemail, shoot us a text, 424-254-9141. And if you have the Apple Podcasting app or Spotify, you can leave us a 5-star rating there. That would be great. On Apple, you can also leave us a review, and we appreciate all of those. I think we have a new review here. We do have one from La Palma, 5-star review. Getting better every day. The team gets better every day. They're entertaining. They're informative. They're real, not phony. It's like Chris and Shotgun are my friends. They work hard, and we get to see the fruits of their labor. So thanks. I think he's talking about us as a team, not the USC team, but specifically he mentions Chris and Shotgun.
Little Helium Boys love there.
Little Helium Boys love because they were going in depth on why they picked. They were the guys who picked the top 30, even though we all voted, but they could veto us apparently, and they didn't like some of those. I don't know.
Oh, they didn't put it together Democratically?
I think it was
What?
democratically, but they had the final say. So like there were some players that only the two of them had on lists, and they put them on anyway, even though most of us didn't have them on. There was a little bit of that.
No one texted me that, Ryan.
I listened to the Helium Boys podcast, and their reveal was a little weird.
Yeah, I guess I should listen to that.
That's okay. I was listening to the Composite 2-Star with Gerard. They did it earlier this week on Tuesday. We're recording this on Thursday, if you're listening, but. Yeah, I texted Gerard. I'm like, you say nevertheless quite a bit, but they're I'm in the middle. He was saying a lot, but they're talking about the NCAA football game. And Gerard was an expert. He used to have these programs. He had a Mac, but he would like get a PC program an emulator on his Mac or something, and change all the rosters. So every year after 2014, when they discontinued the game, he would continue to play and update, recruiting, all that stuff. Yeah, Gerard was really, really into it. So he has the early version. He got he bought it before it came out or whatever, and then Chris couldn't because he's got an older Xbox, so I guess it's not on that one yet. But I was thinking about it. I know it would just waste a lot of time. I'm not going to buy like a PlayStation or an Xbox just to play this game, but I'll hear what all you guys are doing, and I'm sure I would love it if I played, but I'm sure it would be a time sink too. So.
Yeah, I'm not a huge gamer either, but I have enjoyed reading the stories and seeing the clips online. And Josh Pate, our national guy at 247, he played with the USC, and he dropped that little promo video. That was really cool to watch. So it is really exciting. And just imagine being an athlete and being able to play as yourself. That would be so fun. I feel like if I'm Nate Clifton playing all the time, I'd rig it so I won the Heisman, and that would be awesome.
Yeah. No, he's like, you got to play with yourself. You know, the fact that he bought the game so he could get it earlier than his free copy, that's kind of funny. So
I think 5 Stars Only bought the game too, and he pre-ordered it, the deluxe edition, so he could play the second it came out.
Yeah. We had a comment in the YouTube chat from Anthony. Gerard has that much time to do that. Ryan, you aren't working him hard enough. That's 100%. He's overpaid and underworked. So let's just let him know on the Composite 2-Star. Just, tell him in there, hey, we need more work out of you. It's part of his job. Like every player you talk to, you can talk about this game. I think most guys are into it. So if you're well-versed in some of the nuances of the game, it probably helps your interaction with players and prospects going around. Speaking of players and prospects, there's some like kind of newsy stuff coming on in the college football world where the roster, they're kind of trying to finalize roster sizes. I saw something, I think from Pete Thamel, it looks like baseball might get up to like 30 scholarships. Right now they have like 11 or something, 11.4 or something like that. For a place like USC, that would be huge because they have to have so many walk-ons. Curious to see what track and things like that. But USC would have to fund all these scholarships and stuff too. But that's an interesting one. And then if the football roster changes, maybe eliminating walk-ons and all that. So there's some, potential newsy stuff coming down the pipe here. We'll see.
I saw a tweet from Ross Dellinger today, the great Yahoo Sports columnist. He said, SEC coaches tell Yahoo Sports they anticipate distributing as much as $15 million annually in the rev share to football players, or $250 million total as a league. And then next sentence, they expect a roster size of around 105 and believe NIL collectives will remain as a recruiting sweetener. So maybe we get 105 scholarship players for football if they do want to do away with walk-ons. I think that would be interesting.
So then all those walk-ons would be getting scholarships, which is nice. If they just kept it to 85, which I thought they would do, 105 is a lot of players.
Yeah, that is a lot of players.
It opens up a lot of different things. Yeah, Ross does a great job. I like interacting with him and stuff, but that's I'm curious about that. And the number is something that I heard in the 15 million range because we don't know. So we know that there's going to be revenue sharing. It's going to be for the 2026 recruiting class. So right now you're not sure if you're an athletic department, like USC's athletic department, they're not really sure what their budget is for that class because they're not sure what percentage of that 22 million can go to football. Obviously, you would want most of it to go to football. I've heard somewhere in that range, in like the 70% of that money will likely go to football. And there's Title IX concerns, but there's ways, I've heard different things, like kind of ways to be compliant with Title IX and ways to structure it so it's like fair, and the football team would get this much. They can't just give all $22 million to football. There's going to be, women athletes that are getting money. They just won't get as much as the football players do. There might be a lot more female athletes getting money, but maybe just not as much. And there's different ways that this could be structured. So curious to see when that comes out. I was under the impression, though, that 85 was going to be where they were capping it, which, the NFL does it at 55 or 9 or whatever it is, but then they can sign dudes, tomorrow. If they can sign, if someone gets injured, they can sign someone the next day. But 105, that gives you a lot more sort of wiggle room, and I think it probably would help out. That second string punter that was a walk-on, that was a star at your local high school. Maybe he's just on scholarship now, and you need one of those guys anyway. Like if you have 105, you were maybe stingy about like some special team scholarships before, but now it's like, well, we need that guy. Instead of having him as a preferred walk-on, he's going to be a scholarship player now. So curious, whenever we find out the exact details of this, it should be interesting, but it sounds like that's the way, for what you're saying and what Ross was saying, that's the way we're going.
He didn't mention walk-ons, so I wonder if maybe walk-ons would be included. We've talked about it before. I don't think it makes sense if a guy wants to play and you don't have to pay him anything and he can help. I guess maybe for legal reasons it would be allowed, but that's dumb.
I think they can't do. I think it's more the legal aspect of it, where you're trying to, instead of limiting like scholarships, you're just going to say, well, your roster can be this big, and then you could still give 85 scholarships and have the rest be walk-ons as long as you're in your roster. But Alabama is going to give 105 scholarships, so if you don't do that, you're going to be behind the curve. I think that's sort of the mindset behind it.
And we can change the subject too. I don't love talking about walk-ons. It is interesting though, because changes are coming and kids getting paid directly from the athletic department is cool to see. And it's just too bad the NCAA sucks so bad and really doesn't have any power. Like it's all. I do think we're trending down a road where you get the SEC, you get the Big Ten, they go off, do their own thing, and in 20 years, maybe that's Division I, and there's its own governing body. Some suit is in charge and actually has power and can make sure everything's fair and the money is fair. Because I don't want to be the USC shill, but it really doesn't make sense if you're recruiting with a different team and they have a lot more money to deal with than you. Of course, that team with more money is going to have a competitive advantage. USC is not poor, and I think they have made some mistakes with how they use the money, of course, but at the end of the day, if another team has more money than you do, of course they'll get a leg up in recruiting.
Yeah, and I think when the House settlement was going through, and I think the NCAA and maybe some of the presidents and athletic directors were hoping that, all right, we'll do revenue sharing. Here's the amount of money. It's $22 million. That can move. That was based on a percentage of some of the, bigger athletic department budgets in the country. I think this was sort of their way of saying, okay, we don't need collectives anymore. But you knew instantly that they weren't going to go away. Ross saying that collectives could still be around as more of a pot sweetener. And I always felt that, like, if USC was able to pay in-house, that would help. The problem is going to be, it's good that USC can pay in-house, and I think they will. They'll maximize what they can do, and there's going to be ways they got to figure out money, right? And this is, doesn't grow on trees. You're going to have to get more donations and things like that. But I think it adds a level of complexity if you're saying the collective can still be there as a pot sweetener. So now USC's already, they haven't been the most streamlined approach when it comes to this. They've only been including collectives, House of Victory with the recruiting process for a couple of months. So they were behind there because they were following what was the perceived NCAA rules, which a lot of schools weren't following. And then they're sort of playing catch up. I feel like in this case, it's going to add another layer of complexity where, okay, if you're talking to a recruit and you're like, well, we have this much budget in our, in the athletic department to give you, here's, we have $300,000 here, but the going rate for this guy is $500,000. So now we have to get the collective to pop in 200 or whatever it is. I mean, that has to be streamlined. And I think there's a lot of schools that are doing it very streamlined, and USC, I don't think, has been one of them. So on one hand, it's good you get this pool of money that the athletic department can pay for, but if the collectives are still a part of it, you have to make sure every I's dotted, every T's crossed, and this is a streamlined process, not like 10 phone calls for if some player's trying to get money and you're making all these calls all over the place to try to make it happen. I think you're going to fall behind and lose some players. So I think there's an opportunity there for USC when this is an in-house thing, but also potential for, they're kind of stumbling over their own feet here instead of coming in with a streamlined approach that presents the best package possible as quickly and efficiently as possible.
I've said it before, just need everyone on the same page. That's been a struggle for USC with people rowing the boat in different directions at times, and then you don't go anywhere. So I think that's partially why the recruiting is the way it is, but it seems like efforts behind the scenes are there to make up some ground. I don't know how much of a difference that can make in this current recruiting class. We'll, of course, see. There's a long way to go until December. At the end of the day, results are results, and I think the people in charge know that the 25th ranked recruiting class right now for USC, that's just not going to cut it.
It is not. That's not good enough. So we'll see. If you aren't a subscriber to USCFootball.com, you should check it out. We had a lot of words were written in the war room this past weekend, and I put a bunch of them in myself, some of the stuff I'd heard about USC on the NIL front, maybe some good news, maybe some news you didn't expect, maybe disappointing news. There's a lot of stuff in there, and I think you'd be a lot more well-informed if you go and subscribe and read it. You can get in there for 30% off an annual membership. Go check it out, or $10 if you want to go try it out for a month. And you're going to definitely want to be around for the fall because there's a lot of content going up there. So make sure you go check that out. Also forgot to mention our sponsor, Trader Joe's. Man, I gotta jump in there because I did a little fridge clean out, Connor. So then it's like you're gonna go back and get the basics. I buy some bottles of wine. I like to have a couple varieties of cheeses. The fig spread I really like, and then of course you got to get crackers. I don't usually always get through the box, and then I'm like, I want to buy a new box. I would get some fresh crackers and put it all together, and you get the little wine and cheese thing, which I love. But the freezer was getting a little, not as full, so go pick up. I want to pick up the Italian meatballs when I make pasta, or pick up some different pasta sauce, or some. I like to get their penne over there, but a lot of different stuff. So I needed to fill up on some of the staples from Trader Joe's recently.
I've heard through the grapevine, Ryan, that Trader Joe's just released some new lunch boxes, and apparently they're all the rage, selling out really quick. People have gone in looking for them. They've been sold out, told to come back later in the day. So if you have a chance to get one of these lunch boxes, apparently they're a hot commodity.
I will check it out. I haven't seen that. Okay, very cool. Hot. You had the bags that we had that were very hot commodity. Yes,
I still have that. I bring that to Ralph's.
Yeah,
sorry, Ralph's close to my house, but I'm repping Trader Joe's.
That's awesome. All right. We can. I don't know if there's anything else. We could look at the latest, the top 30. We can look at the revealed ones and kind of give some thoughts on that if you want. Unless there was anything else you want to discuss.
I think if you haven't had a chance to listen to Nate Clifton, definitely listen to that. That would be my biggest thing. That's at the start of the show. He was awesome, and he provided a lot of really good tidbits about stuff that I think maybe we thought okay, they probably need him to play on the inside, but is he? Yes, and a bunch of good things about players in the room who he's excited about. What's it like playing with Eric Henderson, who are the leaders on the team? I learned a lot from that interview, and I'm really glad he came on.
Yeah, great stuff from him. All right, let's look at the top 30. We have revealed from 30 to 15.
Yes, halfway through.
So we're halfway through. We could kind of go through them quick. I mean, you know what? Maybe I'll pull up my list, and I don't know if you have yours in front of you.
I have mine here, but do you want to start with the overall list?
Yeah, we'll do the overall list, and then we can kind of say if we had them there or not. But number 30, we had Gino Quinones, who was out last year. But yeah, any thoughts on Gino being on there?
Well, great place to start at number 30 because I also wrote that story. I did not have him in my top 30, but I can see why people would have him. I think Shotgun and Chris probably did. I had Amos Talele on in mine, and they play the same position. I just went with the guy who I know is healthy versus the player who may not be healthy heading into camp. But I will say this, in all the USC social media offseason stuff, Gino, who tore up his knee against Nevada last season, he's featured in these videos. He's off to the side sometimes. He's not doing the full workout, and we saw that in the spring. But him being featured in those videos makes me think he's doing the right stuff. He's on the right track, and there probably is a good chance because he hurt his knee so early in the year that he could be ready for fall camp. So we'll check in on that. If he's healthy and ready to go, of course he's in the top 30 because I think that line really lacks a lot of depth, and he can be a great depth option and maybe even push for a starting job at right guard. So we'll see. I didn't have him because of health, but I totally get the argument for why you would have him.
Yeah, I didn't have him in there either. I think the last couple I had in was Alani Noah, and I think Mason Murphy I had in the 20s or something. But, yeah, I didn't have him in there, but he could. And, I mean, I think there was a lot of promise last year before the injury, so got no problem with him being in there. Also didn't have number 29. I didn't have Greedy Vance in there. I think there's a lot of options in the secondary. I had a bunch of different guys. I kind of snuck Marcellus Williams in there in my number 35. I put him like 35, so he was like just on the out, but I listed him. Did you have Greedy Vance in there at all?
I had him at 25. He's at 29.
Okay.
Like you said.
You got him higher, all right.
I think he's going to be the slot this year.
Okay.
I really liked his tape at Florida State from what I saw. And I have no inside information on this, but in my head, I think it makes the most sense to play Kamari Ramsey and Jalen Smith as the two safeties. Smith, of course, played a ton of nickel in the slot last season, and he could certainly still play there again. I love what I saw from him in the Holiday Bowl. I thought he was great as a deeper safety, and I would really like to see him play there with Ramsey. I think that gives you two really, really talented guys who have NFL potential in the back of your defense. I like that a lot, and I think Vance, the reason they brought him in is maybe they thought, okay, Jalen could play nickel, but if we can get a ready-made nickel starter in Greedy Vance, then that'll allow us to play Jalen at a different spot. So we'll see what happens. That's my hypothesis, but that's why I had him a little bit higher than everyone else.
Okay. Number 28, Alani Noah. I'd mentioned him. I had him at 32, so in that range. Did you have him on your list at all?
I had him higher as well.
Okay.
Let me see here. I had him at 21 because I think he, if the season started tomorrow, would be that right guard starter over Amos, over Geno, but it's a competition. So the reason I had him higher is just because I think he's probably the most likely to play as of right now. We'll see what happens. It seems like he beat out Amos in that spring period, and of course Geno wasn't able to play, so I like him a little bit more at that right guard spot. Very inexperienced, though, true sophomore. Lot of questions with him, but I certainly think he could be a very valuable piece to that offense, and I like him a little bit more than some of the other guys, it looks like.
He started at the opener, right? I think
he started at, I think,
weird,
left guard.
Yeah.
And or maybe right guard. Geno started at one of them, and Emmanuel Pregnon did not start, and then he started the rest of the games at left guard.
Yeah.
That was just bizarre.
That was a weird one. I didn't know what was going on there.
Me neither.
27, defensive lineman Elijah Hughes. I also didn't have him on my list. Did you have him there?
No, I don't even think I had him in my top 35.
I didn't either, but
he certainly could factor in. I just get very afraid of younger interior defensive linemen. Like, I see a lot of hype for Carlin Jones because of his size. It's just so damn hard to be a young player. Hey, Bear Alexander did it, so there are exceptions, but it's so hard to be a young player and really contribute as a true freshman inside on defense. So we'll see. A lot of people are higher on him on our staff than I am. I'd love to be pleasantly surprised, but I don't totally see the fit, especially now that we know Nate Clifton is going to be playing on the inside. I mean, Gavin Meyer will be there too. Hughes will probably be a depth piece, but I don't see him having a massive impact, but could be wrong for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't think speaking of Nate mentioned Elijah Hughes, I think, right? I think he talked about him a little bit. Did you have Nate Clifton on your list?
Yeah, I had him at number 17. Is he not on this list?
He's
at 13.
Oh, okay. We don't have him. All right, so he's moved up. All right.
Did you not have him on your
I
list?
had him, but not as high as he was here.
Me neither.
But I would move him up after the interview now. But I was curious. So, we don't have the full. Is that you have him at 13, or are they?
I have him at 17. They have him at 13. And when we say that's the whole staff.
But you can't reveal that yet.
Oh, sorry.
That's like, oh man, you're like.
Well, hey, you brought it up.
I was just wanted to see him, but he's a higher. I didn't know.
All right, that's redacted until tomorrow.
That's a really good sign, though, that he would be that high. Okay, number 26, quarterback who I got to interview, DeCarlos Nicholson.
I had him at 24, so very similar.
Yeah, I had him. Where did I have him? 22. So I had him a little higher. Maybe because I just interviewed him. I don't know, but that's. But yeah, I think he's got a good chance to be a starter for USC. So in there. So we're both in that same range. Number 25, running back, Quinton Joyner. I had him at 19, but that's okay. What about you?
I did not have him in my top 30 because I think Woody Marks is going to do everything for them.
I think so, but I think he was my second running back I had in there. So I have Woody Marks high up there, top 10. But
me too. I get that. I don't know. I don't know how valuable in this era of college football your number 2 running back is, but some teams, maybe that's wrong. I just look at it a little bit differently. Like, I don't really value the backup quarterback because I don't really think they're going to play that much. I think Woody Marks is going to be the do-everything running back for USC, Joyner, maybe the change of pace guy. We didn't really hear a ton about him in camp. I had to ask Lincoln Riley specifically about Quinton Joyner. He wasn't a guy who really created a ton of buzz, so that doesn't necessarily mean he's not going to be good or anything. I want to see it from him before I put him in that top 30.
Number 24, defensive lineman Gavin Meyer. I did not have him on my list, and I think Shotgun said only like 3 or 4 people did, but the people that did tend to have him higher. Did you have him on your list?
I had him at number 10.
Whoa.
Yes, because I thought he was going to play alongside Bear, but it sounds like
now you would drop him.
Yeah, so a little bit, but I still think he's important because it's premium positions. Quarterback is the most important position. Offensive line is super important. Receiver is really important. And then I think defensive lineman, that's another one of those premium spots. Who gets paid the most in the NFL? They're right up there, especially right now. That you got to get pressure on the quarterback to be good. And even if you're not getting a traditional hurry or anything like that, just being able to push an offensive lineman back, that can go a long way.
Yeah, it depends how you want to rank them. Like the number 23, number 23, we have Deuce Robinson. I had Deuce at 28, so in that range. But I know, I think Shotgun was saying because there's a lot of great options there that he sort of devalued the position because it's like maybe it's Deuce Robinson, but maybe it's somebody else, so. But I kind of put the 4 sophomores in my list because I thought they'd all be pretty important. Did you have Deuce on yet?
I had Deuce on it, but in the 20s as well. I look at it very similar to Shotgun. I think Deuce has a great chance to have a big season, but he's got to go out and prove it. And there's so many receivers in that room. I think he'll be the guy, but I got to see it before I really put him up too high.
Number 22, they have linebacker Mason Cobb. I had him way up at number 10.
I had him at 15.
Okay, so we're both higher on the Cobb importance than the 2 Helium Boy clowns are. Yes, you're clowns.
I feel like he's going to play more than Eric Gentry. Do you think that's crazy?
I think Shotgun said he had missed the most tackles in the country or something last year. It was like he missed a lot of tackles. I feel like he's not going to do that this year. He's going to be a tackling machine. I think he's going to be utilized. He was a captain. Yeah, I think he's got to be at least top 15, not in the 20s, but.
That's how I see it, too. Hearing Matt Entz talk about Eric Gentry, he's excited about him, but he mentioned the word sub-packages, which makes me think maybe Eric Gentry could be a little bit more of a change of pace linebacker, third down, as opposed to every down. I think Easton Mascarenas-Arnold came to USC to play a lot, and Mason Cobb didn't have the best year last year. I wouldn't be surprised if he was one of the players who was let down the most by the coaching staff a year ago. I thought he was a fine player at Oklahoma State, and he really struggled a year ago.
They have number 21, the backup quarterback you already mentioned, Jaden Maiava. I completely disagree with this. No, wait. I have him at number 21 also. So exactly the same. So
Miller Moss, I think, was 23 for us last year. And in the regular season, he did not play a meaningful snap. But then in the Holiday Bowl, he was awesome.
Top 25. You got to have him in the top 25.
So maybe I'm wrong on that. But I don't know. I'm looking at it in the regular season. I'm going by those 12 games. And the precedent is the backup quarterback doesn't play.
You just said it was a premium position, so you got to
Well, yeah, I have Miller Moss very, very high, which I won't reveal where. I disagree with some of the top 5, but if you're not going to play, you can't be a most important Trojan. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Number 20. I thought he might come in for some packages too.
But has Lincoln Riley ever done that?
Yeah, he might. I don't know.
He can change, I guess. People change.
Number 20. So we're getting the top 20. Defensive end Jameel Muhammad. I had him higher. I had him at 12.
I had him at 18.
Okay.
His whole thing last year, and he'll tell you, he was really strong in that first half of the season against the lesser opposition, and then when the going got a little tougher, he struggled. that motivated him. He's bigger. He's a great leader. I think he's going to force his way on the field and be solid this year. He really is a driven guy, and he's great to talk to. I'm rooting for guys like Jamil Muhammad. I think he's in my top 20, or I have him in my top 20, and I think he deserves to be there.
Yeah, me too. Number 19, defensive back, Achille Arnold. I had him down at 24 because I had other DBs ahead of him, but I don't know, where will you have him?
I had him at 29, and that's probably a slight because he was really good at Oregon State. I just think he might be the odd man out in the safeties group. And
yeah, I kind of felt so too. Like I didn't want to have him that high.
And a lot of the coaching staff and players, they talk about his leadership and how he makes the coaches better and stuff. I haven't heard a ton about on the field stuff with him. Only spring practice, so a lot can change. I'll go back to what I said earlier. Kamari Ramsey, he's definitely going to start. And then I think Jalen Smith, if I had to pick it right now, I'd have him as the other safety and Greedy Vance in the slot, which would leave Achille Arnold to be more of a rotational piece. Zion Branch is in the mix, too. There's a lot of really good safeties in that room, so I sort of devalued him a little bit because I think the depth in that room is so good.
And those are positions where there's so many guys, like after fall camp, the re-rank will probably be, a little bit more accurate because then we know, he's moved to nickel, and he's like the third string, whatever it is, then you'll kind of know more of that. Number 18, defensive end, Braylon Shelby. I had him at 14, so pretty close. Where'd you have him?
Where did I have him? I had him at 28 because he's another prove-it guy.
Okay.
I got to see it. He didn't play a ton last year, but he did play in just about every game. He did score a touchdown or contributed to that Stanley Taufuo touchdown. I think he had the forced fumble, so it wasn't like he didn't make any plays. But I love what he did as a recruit and the size that he has. You can't teach that. It's time for him to show it. And last year I was kind of burned by Anthony Lucas a little bit. I had him really high. He didn't have a great year. I just need to see it with some of these prove-it guys.
Speaking of Anthony Lucas, number 17, defensive end Anthony Lucas. I had him at 20, so right in that range.
I had him at 26 because I got to see it.
You're burned from last year.
These defensive ends, they can be these really highly rated recruits, but look at Mason Graham at Michigan, a guy in Southern California who USC didn't even sniff, and he's going to be a first-round NFL draft pick, wasn't a highly rated recruit. You got to produce on the field, and these guys will certainly get a chance this year. I think the defensive end, those two spots are wide open, but I got to see it.
Okay. We got two more to reveal, and then we'll let you guys go. Number 16, cornerback, Jacoby Covington. I had him at 13. So
I had him at 14. Yeah, right in the middle.
We're right around this. And then 15, the most important Trojans. You wrote this story, John Humphreys.
I had him at 19.
Where did I have? I had him 5. I put him way up there. Okay. The main reason being, like, he's one of like two people that knows this new offense. And when I was talking to DeCarlos, he was talking about the importance of like talking to Kamari Ramsey and John Humphrey about, he's like, it's one thing when a coach explains it to you, but it's another when a player does. So I felt like I have him and Ramsey both very high. Ramsey I think makes sense too, but I had him up there because I think he's going to be an important part to get everybody sort of up to speed on the defense. That was sort of my reasoning. It could be way off, but
I'm nervous about his hand injury. That factored into
that's
my
true.
ranking a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know how healthy he is right now. I think it's 2 starting spots at the boundary corner group for 3 guys, DeCarlos Nicholson, John Humphrey, and Jacoby Covington. And until we know who the staff likes and who's going to play the most, or maybe they're all going to rotate, but the fact that it's 3 for 2 and there's no guaranteed, okay, this guy, pencil him in, he's not going anywhere. That probably would be Humphrey based on what he did last year at UCLA. His injury scares me a little bit, and I don't think anything is guaranteed with Nathan Lynn coming over to USC now. So if he was a guaranteed starter, like how I view Kamari Ramsey, I'd probably have him a little higher, but I still think he needs to compete.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like, he might not even start, but I just feel like they're going to rely on him. Players are going to rely on him, so he's just going to be important to have that knowledge of what this defense, what it's going to require of him.
I kind of like that analysis there because I think it's a very unique circumstance where that would make sense because he followed the defensive coordinator from his old school 9 times out of 10. I'd say you got to play to be really important, but I think in this situation it's a little different.
And I think I just had talked to DeCarlos, and he emphasized how I was like, do you learn? He's like, yeah, sometimes it's just like a coach is telling you something and it's not quite, and then the player tells it to you and it like makes more sense, so it's maybe kind of emphasize or help some of the things he was doing. But all right, I look a little, so I got so if you're watching on YouTube, again, thank you. I got a new webcam. Connor's trying to take a look at it. We'll see. It looks a little redder. I don't know, but the coloring was weird. We were wearing the exact same color shirt one day, and mine looked like way different than Connor's. They're different webcams that we use. I can show what the studio looks like here. So new camera like right here for me, and there's the cameras here that we have for Connor. There's one for each seat and then one for the double. So let me know what it looks like. I guess I can look what my shirt looks like here. And then
I'm looking on YouTube. It does look a little bit red, but I think you can adjust. It doesn't look terrible, and I think you can adjust.
Yeah, maybe just some adjustment there. But
some of the stuff.
Newer camera. That was an old like webcam I was using. It just worked, but I was like, I'll just get something else. All right, great stuff. Anything else you got, Connor?
No, that was fun. These off-season shows, sometimes we have a lot to talk about, sometimes we don't. Today was great.
Yeah, it was great. And if you want to say thanks again to House of Victory, I'll put if you're watching on YouTube, little QR code on the screen, but you can go to houseofvictory.com. And if you want to donate and help them with building USC's roster, you can definitely do that. And there's a QR code there you can donate to. I just put it on the screen, like right here, so you can check that out. But again, I've had a lot of fun doing all these interviews. It would bother me if like you felt like the players were like getting out of bed and just like, oh, I got to do this. But they've all been like super cool. They seemed to be really fun. No one was like, hey, I got to go and fight. I mean, everyone's just like, all right, let's do this. And, the fact that Abel, we got to see his dog. I saw the dog carrier in the background and stuff. And, learn a little about him. Like, doesn't have a car yet. He's one of the older guys on the team and can't drive right now. He doesn't have a car. I like getting little insights into sort of what their lives are like. And, he's going to be wearing number 99. It's going to be fun to watch out there when he gets out there and starts playing. So hopefully the fans got a little enjoyment and excitement talking to Nate Clifton. We're like, oh, the Vanderbilt guy. How's he going to do? I don't know. Looks like he might do pretty good. So we'll see.
I'm excited. Like I said, more excited than I was earlier today. That kind of gave me a shot in the arm a little bit. So fall camp can't get here soon enough.
So if it's helping us, like we're like, I'm like, okay, like, all right, I see you. Like, all right, we can see what's going on here. Maybe it'll work. All right, well, that's going to wrap things up. Connor, good to see you again in studio. Hope your travels were well.
Thank you. Yes,
Connor and Chris and Shotgun and potentially Dan Weber will all be in Indianapolis for Big Ten Media Days next week. I was going to go. We had everyone else going. Flights were kind of way too expensive, so I was like, all right. So we're sending all those guys, and I'm going to stay home for this one. But we'll do a show sometime next week. We'll figure it out. Maybe we'll do a remote one with you and Indy and kind of get a feel for what's going on there. We'll figure it out. But that's going to wrap things up. Connor Morrissette, Mr. Triple Double himself. I am Ryan Abraham. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you next time.